Welcome to Slooh, using Slooh in education webinar, exploring star clusters. And today I'm going to be your host, Dr. John Boisvert. I'm the director of curriculum here at Slooh, and I'm going to introduce you to Slooh and our standards aligned learning activities that we have on Slooh called Quests. Now, I know that there's a wide range of audience here today, from colleges to community colleges and families and more. And so you'll find that Slooh works for everybody at all levels. So let's jump right in. I do have a brief agenda for us today. We're going to cover what quests are. We're also going to cover quest learning progressions. We're also going to learn a bit about how to control the telescopes. And I'm going to show you where the teacher resources are and what they contain for all quests. Then I'll show you how to assign quests to your students and monitor their progress. Now, I want to show you the all-new custom poster feature using the Exploring Star Clusters quest at the end of the webinar tonight. So I'm going to try and make sure that we have time for questions towards the end. So if you have some, make sure to start filtering them in through the Q&A. So if you are brand new to Slooh, I am sure you're wondering what a quest is. Quests are coherent, well-sequenced, experiential learning activities that use Slooh's telescopes to capture images of celestial wonders while learning about specific areas of astronomy, history, anthropology, arts, and other STEAM topics, keeping students excited and engaged to learn. There we have over 70 interactive lessons that challenge your students to use Slooh to collect and analyze data to form their own conclusions. Our 10 telescopes broadcast live from our flagship observatory at the Institute of Astrophysics of the Canary Islands and our Chile Observatory in association with the Catholic University of Chile. Now, students, especially in K through 12, are cut off from the night sky and the rest of the universe due to many factors. Light pollution, difficulty setting telescopes up, difficulty corralling kids to come back to school at night. Slooh's state-of-the-art telescope and our Quest curriculum are an equitable way to bring the universe back to the students so they can engage with space and gain a cosmic perspective. Now, Slooh currently has 5 learning progressions. We've had teachers in the past say that they don't have the time or expertise to know which quest to assign to their students. Well, let us help with that. At Slooh, we have learning progressions depending on the class that you're teaching. These learning progressions are compact and aligned to the standard curricula. With these progressions, educators can look at their syllabus on what they're told to teach and then use these progressions to say, okay, that's what I want to assign. So these are for the ease of use for the non-astronomy teachers that use Slooh. Before Slooh, only science educators with a passion for astronomy could bring space into the classroom. Now, any educator can do it. Now, let me show you how to get to the learning progressions. So as you notice, when we were on the dashboard, I clicked on the Quest button that's on the top here. This Quest button got us to where we were browsing through all of the quests. Bear with this spinning circle here. So there's a button here that says all categories. This is a way where you can filter through all of the quests. So when I click on this, you'll see that we have different options. They have different categories, different seasonalities, but here are the learning progressions here. So if I were to click on college astronomy, for example, this filters out all of the quests and just shows the college astronomy quests in an order that would you would see these topics typically in a textbook. So that's pretty neat. Now, I mentioned that quests address certain curriculum codes. Now, let me show you a place where you can find that information. So first, let me go back over to the high school astronomy learning progression. You'll see there's some similarities between the college and high school astronomy. If we click on these 3 dots here, there's view quest description. When you take a look at the quest description, you can see that we have our objectives for the quest clearly laid out. We have the standards addressed for this particular quest, and we have some other lesson informations here. So this would give you a quick rundown of what you can expect for this quest. And if you want to assign it to your students, you can actually click on this assign button and they'll find it on their dashboard in this section called My Quest section, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, what if you wanted to see this information for all quests? There's a couple ways to find it. The first way I'm going to show you is if you go to slooh.com, under the For Educators menu, you can click on elementary, middle, high school, or college. Either of any of these links will bring you to an education page. And if you scroll down a little bit, there's going to be a button that says See Curriculum Alignment. And this is going to bring you to our Airtable. So our Airtable contains all of the quests that we have and the standards address for those quests. So here, this is a way where you can get a glance of all of the quests, and you can do some cool things like sort this table. So if I sort by grade level, for example, here now are all of the elementary school quests that are suitable for elementary school, not only that are in the learning progression, but there are quests that are suitable for elementary school that are not in learning progression. So it's important to take a look at this Airtable. And you'll also find that there are some quests that are suitable for both high school and college. So this is a pretty powerful way of looking through the quests. So as you can see, though, we've aligned quests to NGSS performance expectations, disciplinary core ideas, cross-cutting concepts, science and engineering practices. We've also aligned quests to Common Core state standards for reading and writing science and technology, as well as mathematics. We've recently addressed the Texas Administrative Code for our high school quests. In addition, quests are aligned with an OpenStax astronomy textbook. Now, the OpenStax astronomy textbook is an open source free textbook that's primarily used in high schools and colleges, but it's a great resource for elementary schools and middle schools to look for definitions and pictures. Now, Slooh is one of OpenStax technology partners, and we've found many crosswalks between Slooh quests and OpenStax chapters. Now, as you can see, there's different ways that this Airtable can be pivoted to get more information. So if we pivot the Airtable along performance expectation, NGSS performance expectations, now we can see that if there's a particular performance expectation that you're required to hit with your students, well, maybe it's MS ESS 1-1. Well, it looks like we have a few quests that would meet that standard. So, I think this is quite a neat way to search through quests to support education. Now, more about quests themselves and what the students make. All quests culminate in creating a poster-sized infographic that showcases the students' images captured themselves with Slooh's telescopes. That's right, your students capture these images and make these posters during the quest. In some cases, these infographic posters incorporate responses to questions within the quest. These personalized infographics generate a spirit of accomplishment for the student while providing an easy tool to recall the content they learn while on the quest. Now, since students use their own captured images and are able to edit the text and font and colors all throughout the poster, every student poster is unique. No two posters are alike. This flexibility allows students to explore their artistic expression and create something that speaks to them and for them. Now, quests, there are some quests where students generate GIF animations out of their captures, such as Our Rotating Star. Another is In the Footsteps of Clyde Tombaugh, where they recreate the discovery of Pluto with Slooh's telescopes, which is circled here if you look closely at the screen. So there are other quests that utilize Slooh's animation module, and my team keeps thinking of ways to incorporate them into quests. So not only do students capture the universe, but they see it come alive. So quests are a great way for students of all levels to stay involved on the platform, as they provide goals and structure for learning and capturing images for their collection. Students follow in the footsteps of professional astronomers, from learning about their captured objects to planning and executing authentic observational astronomy missions by considering factors that may affect their outcome, such as weather, object altitude, and moon's location. Now, we are going to cover a few ways of scheduling missions tonight. Now, when your students first log into Slooh, they're going to find themselves on the Slooh dashboard. This is the student's front seat to their exploration of space. Now, right up at the top is section for star parties. These are shows and events that we put up on the platform surrounding exciting astronomical events, such as the upcoming eclipses or the blue supermoon that's coming up. As you can see, we have numerous star parties scheduled. Underneath this is information about each observatory. Now, there is a button that will directly take students to whichever telescope they would like, but the students will always have access. Ooh, and it looks like the Chile Observatory is going to be coming online here in about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Students can also access the telescopes from anywhere on the site by scrolling up to the top and clicking on this telescope icon. When you see this green dot next to the dome, that means that at least one telescope is online. So when we take a look, it looks like Canary 1 through Canary 4 are online. And like I mentioned, in just a minute or so, the Chile telescopes will come online. So we'll take a look there again in a moment, and we'll see more green dots next to Chile 1 and Chile 2. Now, underneath the observatory section is where we find missions. So missions are how you and your students control one of the 10 telescopes in Slooh's online telescope arsenal. So we'll come back to this here in a moment. Now, this is the spot where quests are located. Now, again, there is another way to get to quests using this button all the way at the top. But this specifically is showing the students My Quests section. And so when you assign quests to your students, those quests are going to appear in this section of their dashboard. So students will know exactly which quests that you want them to complete. Now, underneath this section is our photo section. So photos is the collection of every captured image. Clicking on them brings up the most recent photo of a particular celestial object. And the most recent missions will show up here. So when I click on full moon, for example, I get to take a peek at all of the full moon images that I've caught recently. So we just had the Sturgeon supermoon, and we did a star party for it. And so the first thing that I can see is all of the photos that I snapped during that star party. So these are images that were on the live telescope that I was able to use this camera button and actually add those photos to my collection. So while missions are a primary way of getting images into your collection, you can also just hang out on the live feeds and click on this camera icon button. Okay, so let's go back to missions. I want to talk more about that because missions are how you and your students control one of the 10 telescopes in Slooh's online telescope arsenal. So let's take a look at these featured missions here. A Slooh mission is a fixed time to look at a particular object with a specific telescope. So we can see that this first mission, the specific time is August 23rd at 23:55 UTC. The UTC time is always listed up here on the Slooh site. You'll never miss it. And at this time, it's going to use the Canary 1 telescope to capture comet C-2023 E1. Well, that's pretty sweet. So these featured missions are always here so that students can quickly schedule a mission to a spectacular object that is visible tonight. But let's see the easiest way to schedule a mission, and that's by using the Slooh 1000. You get to it by clicking on this Schedule Mission button. So when you get here, it's a 3-step process. Step 1 is choose category. So these are all the different categories of celestial objects that you can capture with Slooh's telescopes. So let's go ahead and choose emission nebulae. So when this happens, the system is looking at all of the emission nebulae that are in the Slooh 1000, and it's checking where each of them are in all of the telescopes. And it serves us a list of objects that are going to be visible in the next 7 days. And so any of these nebulae that are in the dark font is an object that we can schedule a mission to. But there are some objects that are grayed out that we cannot schedule missions to. These objects are too close to the sun, and they're above the horizon in the sky during the day, so we can't see them. So let's use the Orion Nebula. That's a good one to start with. So you choose Orion Nebula as your object and you hit Preview Mission, and it will serve you a mission card. So again, a fixed time to look at a particular object with a specific telescope. Cool. So let's go ahead and schedule this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Schedule. Now, students do not have to be on the platform when their mission occurs in order to obtain their image captures. though they are encouraged to tune in through the telescope as their image is processed in real time as the telescope collects more and more photons. So that's right, which looks exactly like this animation. So this all happens automatically with Slooh's patented process of automatically processing images. So students can hang out on the live feeds all night long, like I said, and use this camera image button to snap images of celestial objects all night long or until their bedtimes. Now, there is some other ways to schedule missions, and I want to make sure that we understand some of these differences tonight. So this way that I showed you just now is the quick and easy way of scheduling a mission to an object. But what if you wanted to go on a mission to a specific object? Well, let me show you how to do that. So clicking on this magnifying glass that's in the top here, this is going to reveal all of Slooh's guide categories. So not only does every object in the Slooh 1000 have a guide, but there are guides for each telescope, famous astronomers, and more. So let's go ahead and search Orion Nebula. And when we search that up, we can see that the Orion Nebula guide page is found. So let's click on this arrow. This will take us to the guide page for Orion Nebula. And it has some cool information about this object, but the reason why I'm bringing you here is actually to go to this missions tab. When you click on this mission tab, you can see that we're given some more information and a little more flexibility for our missions. So already we're able to choose a particular date that we would like to schedule our mission on. Now, it's 23:19 UTC for August 23rd. There's 40 minutes left in August 23rd. So let's check and see what tomorrow looks like. Because at Slooh, we use universal coordinated time, which is basically the same thing as Greenwich Mean Time. It's basically the time zone of the Earth you could think of. So this is the scientists use UTC time as a way to make sure that everybody in the world is talking about the same time. So it's incredibly important. And this is why we always keep it up on the Slooh site so that you're always aware of what the current UTC time is. Now, I scrolled down a little too quickly. So when we scroll down on this page, we're going to see information and missions for the Canary Islands Observatory. And if we continue going down the page, we'll see that same information for the Chile Observatory. So let me show you. So here's Slooh's Canary Islands Observatory, and we can see that we're given 2 mission cards. Now already, when we look at these mission cards, we can see some differences. We're given a weather forecast. We're given information about where the object is in the sky, which is what object altitude is, how many degrees above the horizon the object is. Now, typically, if you want to schedule missions that will have a good chance of coming out good, you want to have that object altitude value be as big as it can be in the mission cards that you're given. It also gives information about the moon, which is pretty important too, because the moon is quite bright when it's in the sky, and that could also affect the image quality. So, but because we got light clouds in the weather forecast, I'm going to take a look at Chile and see what's going on there. Well, it looks like we got rainy weather in Chile tomorrow, so we definitely don't think that's going to work out. So let's take a look in the future. Maybe August 27th. Let's see what that does for us. So if I scroll down here and see what's going on in the Canary Islands, well, it looks like our light clouds have now changed to light clouds to partly cloudy. So, okay. Well, let's check out the Chile Observatory. Boom, look at that. In Chile, we got clear skies on August 27th. So these are one of these missions are going to be one of the ones we want to go on. So using what we learned about object altitude, that we want the biggest number to be in there as possible, it looks like this third mission has object altitude 40 degrees. This is bigger than all of the other 2 mission cards that we were given. So this one's the one we want to go on. So I'm going to hit schedule mission again, and boom, when 8:55 UTC rolls around on Monday, August 28th, going to be going on a mission to the Orion Nebula. Very cool. So let me actually show you one more thing. Did you know that students and educators can join each other's missions on the telescope page? Let me show you how that works. So here is let's take a look at Canary 3. We got the bug-eyed globular cluster here. If we click on this button here that says Q, Q is basically the scheduled mission for the telescope tonight. And if we scroll down a little bit, you'll start to notice that the mission cards begin having 3 dots on the other side. Ooh, looks like we have some open slots if we want to jump in and start scheduling something. Let's actually jump on over to Canary 2. Let's see what we got. So scrolling down, looking through in Canary 2. So here's 3 dots that are right on this mission card. When you click on this, it says join this mission. So if I were to join this mission, then when this time rolls around and Dennis V's mission goes off and they capture images, I'm going to get a copy of those images as well. So what this means is that you can set up missions and ask your students to join them, or you can encourage mission collaboration between your students. Now, Slooh's Canary 5 solar telescope operates differently from the rest of Slooh's telescopes. Now, as it turns out, the sun is already set in the Canary Islands. That's why we're able to look through Canary 1 through 4 right now. So I prepared this brief video to show you what it looks like to capture the sun with Canary Solar 5 telescope. So this telescope is online right now in this image. And if we want to snap a picture for Quest, then all we need to do is click on this camera image icon button. So I mentioned this camera image icon button a few times. So when you click on that camera, it's going to snap a picture and save that picture into your photo collection. This is pretty sweet. Got some nice sunspots here. We got a nice loop that's in the limb there. That's very cool. So let's talk a bit more about quests. Quests are a significant part of our gamification of space exploration here at Slooh. Students collect a heap of gravity points from completing quests. Now, gravity points are Slooh's equivalent of experience points. Students earn gravity points from doing most activities on the platform, like scheduling missions and posting observations. But like I mentioned, completing quests is the easiest way to accumulate gravity points. So quests can be found by clicking on quests at the top of the page. So you click on quests, boom. It brings you to a page that looks like this, where you can see all of the quests. Now I want to show you the Space Explorer quest. It's an all new elementary school quest that was published just a week ago. Now you could, since all of these are put in alphabetically, go in through this way, and look through and get to Space Explorer, but we have this all new filtering search function where if you click on this magnifying glass, you can just type in space and boom, it's going to give you all of the quests that have space in the title. So we have Landscape of Space and we have Space Explorer. So let's take a look through Space Explorer. So quests are a series of steps, and each step has multiple panels. Now, at the beginning of each step is the quest goals and the step objectives for that step, clearly laid out in the beginning. Not only that, the words, the astrolingual vocabulary words that students will learn in that step was also shown here. What's more is we've edited the Lexile levels of our quest to differentiate the text so that more students can access the material. Now, every quest step, as I mentioned, has a set of vocabulary terms that students will learn. Those words are indicated at the beginning of each step, and they're actually clearly defined at the end of each step. These terms and definitions are bolded throughout the text so that students can understand what those words mean in context. So while we're here, though, I want to show you a third way for scheduling missions, and it's by using the observations tables that are inside the quest. So these tables will help students figure out which object they would like to capture. So for this part of the quest, students need to capture one of these galaxies. And so they can choose any one of these galaxies that they want to complete the quest. And we've given the visibility across both observatories, the Canary Island and Chile Observatory, in order to help students make the decision on which ones that they'd like to capture. So as not all of these galaxies are available all the year round. And we do this in order to make sure that these quests can be done at any time of the year. There's always going to be a galaxy available for this quest to help students out. So when you see quests that have all year seasonality, we've built that into these quests. So looks like, we're in late August and we're clearly in with the Whirlpool Galaxy. So let's go ahead and schedule a mission to the Whirlpool Galaxy. All students need to do is click on this link. When they click on the link, it's going to take them to the guide page of that object. It's going to take us to the mission tab of that object's guide page. So this was the same page that we were on earlier with the Orion Nebula, but now we're on it for the Whirlpool Galaxy. Now, if we remember that August 27th had clear skies in Chile, but this particular galaxy we can only see from the Canary Islands. If you go back to the quest, it actually says not visible in Chile. This is a cool thing that in order for us to capture images of objects across the entire night sky, we need telescopes that span the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So let's see, August 24th, light clouds. Let's just shoot for this one. This is a good one. Light clouds, there's a good chance that we'll be able to still get a good image. So schedule a mission, and boom. Like I said, this time rolls around. Telescopes will move to this object, capture an image, deliver it to my personal collection, and then students will be able to use those images and continue on the quest. So I want to show you how students put their images into the quest themselves and why they're so important. So before I put the student's image in here, I want to show you that the question that's immediately after it is asking, what is the name of the galaxy capture? And you'll notice there's nothing here. There's almost like an image placeholder. So as students capture their images and put their images they want to use in the quest into these data collection modules, as they're called, they're basically building their quest as well, because the images that they capture are the images that they are going to be analyzing throughout the quest. So notice, boom, this Whirlpool Galaxy is now shown in through here. And it's asking us what is the name of the galaxy we captured. We have a couple ways that we can figure out that name. We can just go back up to the observation table, or you can click on this I button right next to the edit image and we can get Whirlpool Galaxy. You can copy that, you can paste that right here and hit submit work. Boom, we've answered this question. And we'll find out that these words, this name is going to be available in the quest infographic that we can build for this quest. I'm going to show you what that's like in a little bit. So as I mentioned, quests that require capturing objects outside of the solar system will have links like this within the quest that provide information about the Canary Islands and Chile seasonality, midnight culmination, and other information that students need to complete the quest. So I mentioned assessments earlier when speaking about vocabulary terms, and let's take a closer look at some of the ways that students learn on Slooh with quests. So a Slooh quest assesses student learning in various ways. We have multiple choice questions, fill in the blank questions, free response questions. They analyze their captured images to explain phenomena that they see in paragraph form as they progress through the quest's self-guided activities. They learn how to obtain, evaluate, and communicate information that they're learning. The output is clear if the student answers correctly or incorrectly, and the inquiries support the learning of the material. So other flavors of assessment found throughout Slooh's quest are mathematics walkthroughs that ensure students understand the reasoning behind certain equations and why they work with particular units. In this example from the How Far quest, which teaches students about unit conversions and how different domains of space, solar system, Milky Way, and deep space. Quests like these have our all-new calculator module that students can use to do the arithmetic that they're asked for during the quest. So students don't need to bring their calculators with them or have a piece of scratch paper to do the arithmetic, though it is encouraged to continue developing those arithmetic skills. But we have these calculators in here to make sure that students can do these things. And I also want to show you too, what's pretty cool is if you were to copy the equatorial diameter of the sun, you could actually come on over to the calculator and paste that in. You will need to get rid of the commas, But we need to take that number and we need to divide it by the equatorial diameter of the Earth, divide by this, and we can hit enter, and boom, we have our answer. So 109, it's 109 Earths to get from, or 109 Earths, yeah, to get to the sun. That's pretty interesting. It's really cool that you can do that. And not only that, you grab these answers and then put them within wherever they need to be. All right. So we also have fail comfortably pre-response questions that encourage students to use their reasoning skills to explain certain phenomena before learning about the topic and updating their responses afterwards. So this one, for example, is from our Stars Like Ours quest, where students watch this video and they see the sun expanding and turning red, even engulfing the orbit of the Earth itself. And they're asked to explain what's going on here. Now, I'm pretty sure that students don't understand how stars like the sun turn into red giant stars. But after they get finished with the quest and they learn how stars like the sun turns into red giant stars, they can come back to this video and fully explain what's going on. We also have scaffolding questions that keep students on track and build upon their understanding. This is from the Universe of Color quest, where students learn about the different colors visible light in the universe. And it also teaches students about why the moon's location is important for capturing good images. After learning that the moon's glow affects the quality of their images, students can explain how and why that happens. Then they can put their learning to practice by scheduling missions to a planetary nebula. Now, while on quests, students learn how to develop, create, and use models while planning and carrying out authentic scientific investigations. Studies have shown that when educators implement coherent and well-sequenced inquiry-based investigations, the students attain a deep understanding of scientific practices. Slooh quests provide such investigations, and we can see this understanding in the students that use Slooh. As educators, when you're on the quest overview page, you will see a button that says download teacher resources. This will download a zip file containing the PDF called the quest guidelines. Now, the quest guidelines are not intended to be consumed in full. Rather, they're to be used as a reference guide for the quest. It includes an example of the poster your students will create. It also has some quest tips for success, definitions for every vocabulary term, what step they come from, an answer key to every question in the quest, and our all new quest guidelines are including quiz links and feedback links. Elementary school quests have quiz that are associated with each quest now that you can use in the classroom, but there's feedback links for all quests, elementary school through college, and we would definitely encourage you to use these feedback links after you run through these quests with your students. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to the content creation process, and it's valuable to ensure that the next version of these quests are better than the ones that are currently on the platform. Now, we're also putting pause spots. We're clearly defining pause spots. In the past, pause spots were inside the quest tips for success, and now we're trying to make them more upfront. And these are places within the quest where you can pause for the day, or you can have students work up until a pause spot asymmetrically, or in a flipped classroom, model, where you can have students work up until the pause spot as homework assignment and then come back and work on the pause spot forward as a class. There's many ways that you can do these quests. So, and because I'm sure you're wondering how quests have been utilized in the classroom. And like a Reese's peanut butter cup, there really is no wrong way to consume a quest. It's how you want to consume the quest with your students. So as I mentioned, integrating quests as homework or classroom assignments are a good idea. Colleges could use our long quests as laboratory assignments, as they're the perfect length to keep students engaged for an entire lab period. But we do have shorter quests that are also ideal for college astronomy labs or lectures as a supplement or an additional section to an already put together lab assignment. We have a good number of community colleges and universities that are using the platform in this way. Quests are the perfect jumping off point for a research project or report, perhaps surrounding Project Apollo, Clyde Tombaugh, or some inspiring object or objects captured within the quest. One of the best ways that we've seen Slooh Quest utilized is every week an educator would define a certain number of gravity points that every student has to complete. Maybe they assign a particular quest that every student needs to complete, but there's a chunk of points that the students need to make their own decisions to achieve. They can go on another quest, which earns a lot of gravity points, or they can work on scheduling a bunch of missions to a bunch of different objects and capturing them and accumulating gravity points that way. So these are ways where you can have students kind of go off and do their own thing. And then because the quests are making these posters, if you have students that do non-assigned quests, they can come back and present those posters to each other to encourage other students to go on those quests themselves. So these are some fun ideas. And if you'd like more ideas for using quests in the classroom, then let me show you where some of those are. So when you're on the dashboard, there's a community button. If you hit on community, then click on Star Parties. There, on our on-demand video series, we have an educator workshops. There's 52 videos in here, and it's going to soon to be 53 once we get done with this webinar here together. So we have past educator workshops put on by our hosts, Nicolette Letellier, Stephanie Hanover, John Jan Fort, and Kurt Messick. These are all educators who have been using Slooh for years in success. And so they're covering how to use Slooh in elementary, middle, high school, and college. So here's one, teaching high school astronomy with the online telescope, or going down a little more, Slooh for elementary teachers. So these are some great webinars to take a look through and get some nice ideas from. Now you can monitor student progress and through your classroom's workspace. Now let me show you how to get to that from the dashboard. There's a workspace button here. Let's click it together. Now classrooms have their own private workspace for student interaction and engagement. These spaces foster collaboration and competition similar to that in the scientific community. It's easy to create your own workspace. You just do it by clicking on this link here, and you're asked a few informations. There is a workspace introduction video here that I encourage you to watch on your own time. Now, I can't show you any real education workspaces for privacy reasons, but I can show you the educator's workspace, which is for all educators that use Slooh. It's a great spot for educators to learn about our upcoming education webinars, which make sure that educators know how to use Slooh to engage their students and set them up with educational success. I do, though, have a demo workspace, and hello and welcome everybody that's here in attendance. Now there is this button here that says add assignment. So you can assign quests to your students using this button. Now, when I click on it, you can see that that this shows all of the individual quests. And when you click on assign, it's going to ask you if you want to assign it to which of your workspaces. Now, if you're teaching multiple classes, I suggest having multiple workspaces so that you can keep each section kind of separate from one another. Unless you want to have everybody be in one big workspace, you can do that too. But if you want to assign a quest to all of your students, you have multiple workspaces. If you want to do it on this tab, you have to hit assign twice. You can also assign quests to students individually under the student tab, but this is also where the assign to all students button is going to appear. In any case, when you click on these assign buttons, you're going to be asked, yeah, so when you click on these assign buttons, you got to make sure that that's the quest that you really want to assign, because there's no way to unassign these quests once you assign them to students. We are working on that functionality, so stay tuned for that. So educators, when they're on the student tab here, they can see information about their students, how many gravity points they have, quests completed, quests in progress, the last time they logged on to their account. And if we click on their name, we can see some more information. We can see which particular quests the students are working on, what their step completion rate is, and more. And then we can also take a peek at their answers by clicking on this icon here. Now this will download the PDF report, the student's PDF report. So what is a PDF report? Well, you can download those there, or on the quest overview page, students can download the quest report for themselves once they've completed the quest. It's basically a report of the student's work that you can use for grading. The students' captured images and posters will appear here as well as answers to questions that the students are asked. Now, the assessment reporting is becoming more robust soon by letting you know things like how many attempts the students tried for multiple choice questions, and the attempts and what the attempts were for fill in the blank questions. So I want to spend a little more time now showing you the new custom poster feature. This is going to be coming in through our Exploring Star Clusters quest. So Exploring Star Clusters quest is a really fun quest that involves capturing images of the two kinds of star clusters that exist in the Milky Way galaxy. Star clusters called globular star clusters, which are very dense spherical regions that contain thousands and millions of stars. But there's also what are called open star clusters, which contain a few to 1,000-ish stars, and over time these stars are drifting away from each other. What's kind of cool about open star clusters is they were all born in the same process. So you can think of stars in open star clusters as being like siblings that are slowly growing apart from each other. So in this quest, the first step, students are learning about, in general, what star clusters are. That all star clusters are, for example, pretty much all stars within a star cluster are pretty much the same distance from us. I mean, even though a star cluster can be hundreds of or thousands of light years across, the fact that they're all pretty much in the same spot means that each individual star is more or less the same distance. This is like saying, thinking about an office building that's 20 miles away. Every human that's inside the office building is more or less the same distance from us, even though technically they're all different. So then when we get to step 2, students need to go and capture images for the quest. So as you can see, if this was a quest that I would be giving out, I would be assigning step 1 and step 2 in the flipped classroom model and having students complete that as a homework assignment. Then when they come to class, we can start on step 3 and just complete the rest of the quest. So like before, I want to show you what it's like to put an image into these data collection slots. I've already done that for 5 of them. So I want to grab an image of the Pleiades. The Pleiades is such a beautiful object to capture in Slooh's Canary 3 telescope. So once this gets put in here, the next step is all about open star clusters. It teaches students the rundown of some of the things that I mentioned, that open star clusters, that these stars were all born at the same time and that they're slowly drifting apart from one another. Gravity basically cannot hold these open star clusters together. So students learn those things, answer some questions, learn a bit more about where the open star clusters are within the Milky Way galaxy. Then when they get to the next question or the next step, this is all about the globular star clusters. So they learn about how globular clusters formed, how big are they, about tens to hundreds of light years across. And so they're assessed on the learning piece and they get to move to the next step. But before then, they learn a little bit about how we discovered globular clusters and why they're so important to the Milky Way. Because the globular clusters orbit above and below the Milky Way's disk. And so it was an important tool to figure out how big the galaxy was. And so this is almost like a prequel or a preview to some of the ideas that get fleshed out further in the Milky Way doppelganger quest, where students learn even more about how we changed our models of the universe from Copernicus to Captain's, to then move on to Shapley's model, and eventually to the model that we know and love, the Milky Way spiral galaxy model. Now, the next step is pretty neat. This is one where students learn how to ask questions and answer those questions. So it kind of goes through the scientific method, where students take a look at and compare their open star clusters to their globular clusters and compare and contrast what they see in terms of the number of stars. They start with this question and use the scientific method to write out a paragraph to describe the differences between these two. And they do the same thing with the symmetry, because globular star clusters are highly symmetric and open star clusters are not. And they finally do the same thing with stellar density. So stellar density is how many stars are there per volume. And as you can see, the density of stars in globular star clusters are greater than the density of stars that are in open star clusters. So this is a pretty cool way to test if the students understand the differences in these properties for different star clusters. Now, let's get to the custom poster. I can hear everybody right now saying, I want to see the custom poster. Let's stop talking about the quest itself. And but I want to make sure that we understand some of these things that are within the Exploring Star Clusters quest so that you can take those back and use them in the classroom. So I've already started my Exploring Star Clusters poster, but I want to add in the Pleiades, and I want to show you some other neat things as well. So as you can see, when you're working on a poster, you can always hit this done button and it'll save your progress. You can back out to the quest. And when you're ready to continue working on the poster again, you can click on the edit poster button. All right, so let's get back in there. Edit poster. So there's a few things here that I want to show you. So in order to add your image captions from the telescope, I want to use the image menu. You hit on image, there's quest image, and then there's also recommended. Now, recommended are going to be images that me or another quest author is going to put into the quest that will allow you to, put some fun things on the poster. But quest images are where you're going to find your images that you captured from the telescope. And so the instructions here said put an image named Open Cluster 1 here. Now, not all quests are going to have this guide. You're going to have to use context clues to figure out which telescope image needs to go into some of these boxes. But for some of the first ones, we kind of helped this out. Now, as you can see, when the image was put in here, it was plopped right in the center of the poster. So we have to move it ourselves and size it ourselves on the poster to get it to where we want. Now, this image is not a square, and you can see there's some transparencies above and below. We can fix that. Let me show you how that works. I want to click on the pencil icon here. This is going to bring up the image editor. Now, make sure that you watch closely at this. Crop is going to be the first thing that's selected. Hit on this 1-to-1. This is going to change your image to a square. This is great. So we can click and drag and center the Pleiades, and we could be done. if you want, this is good. We can go back. But if you want to adjust your image a little more, you can. I suggest using this adjust tool. We have contrast and gamma are two different knobs that we can turn. Now watch what happens when I adjust the gamma on the Pleiades. A lot more of the nebulosities surrounding some of the other stars start to become apparent. Now we might need to go to contrast and kind of adjust the contrast a little bit, but once we're happy with what we see, we can hit done, and those changes are going to be reflected on your poster. So again, even if you just want to use the edit to simply crop your images to make sure that the globular cluster, make sure you hit this 1-to-1 here, that's super important, to make sure that the globular cluster is in the center of your image, definitely go ahead and do that. But I do encourage you to use the adjust button, because watch how many extra stars are going to pop up when I change the gamma. Wow, these were all small dim stars that we weren't seeing that are a part of this cluster that we can totally see now. That's pretty awesome. And we're doing all of this within the quest. Cool. So I think I kind of like the way that this looks now, but if you wanted, you can actually edit things a bit further. You can edit the color of this text. You can edit not only the color of the text, but you can even edit things like the font of the text if you would like, or the size that the text is appearing if you want to make it a little bit bigger or smaller. While we don't necessarily encourage this too much, but you can even move these text boxes around. As I'm moving around here, you can see that the text is kind of behind all of these images. There is a bring to front and a send to back function on the top of these two. Not only that, this button here is for duplication. So if I hit that, it'll duplicate whatever it is we happen to be selecting. You can even duplicate your star image or your telescope captures as well. By clicking on background, we can even do some things like change the overall background of our poster as well. So really, truly, these posters are hyper customizable, as I was mentioning early on in the webinar. Now, there's one more thing I want to show us with these custom posters before we close things out today, and that's on the Milky Way's doppelganger. So earlier, we put in the Whirlpool galaxy in the Milky Way doppelganger quest, and we typed in that the Whirlpool galaxy was the galaxy that we captured. So let's see how this works on the Milky Way's doppelganger poster. So I'm going to click on image and click on quest images, and I can see, okay, here's the Whirlpool galaxy capture. I'm going to go ahead and click it. Now you'll see here that it just says put the correct image capture here. It didn't say put your second image capture, put your first image capture. And that's because we expect students to use context clues to make sure that these are right. Elliptical galaxy, so we better put our elliptical galaxy here. Barred spiral galaxy, oh wait. It looks like I actually put my barred spiral galaxy in the spiral galaxy location. That's totally not right. Let me go ahead and fix that right here. Boom. So putting together these posters are actually an assessment piece for whether or not students understand what they learned in the quest. So, okay, so let me go ahead and put my Whirlpool galaxy here, and I'm going to quickly go ahead and resize it because I think that this is a good practice for you and your students to get into when you're making these custom posters, cropping and zooming in on your objects. You can use the scroll wheel to zoom out a little bit if you'd like to, using this adjust to bring out some of the cool features. Nice, done. Okay, now underneath elliptical galaxy and all these, it says galaxy name. When you click on text, it's going to bring up certain responses that students were able to put inside the quest. So I can see I have the giant elliptical galaxy. That's the elliptical galaxy's name. So when I click on that, you can see that the text box was plopped right in the center of the dashboard, or right in the center of the poster. I can use this text align to make it center, change the font color maybe to yellow, change the size probably to small. Yeah, that looks good. And now I can click on galaxy name here, trash it, and then go ahead and resize this text box and label giant elliptical galaxy here. So why don't I go ahead and do the same for the others? So let's do our spiral galaxy next. Our spiral galaxy is the whirlpool galaxy. That's what we typed in together. Font color yellow, text align center, font size small. We'll just stick with this font family. That'll work. Resize to make sure that everything is centered. Beautiful. Last one to take care of is this one here. Let's go ahead and trash it. Text, Orani's Galaxy. Beautiful. Font color, yellow. Small, text align center. And we have labeled the galaxies on our Milky Way doppelganger poster. And we can hit done, and boom, we're done with this poster. So, and I forgot to show you. Let's go ahead and get back in. So I really want to stress that that the items that are all throughout these posters are customizable, even down to the even down to all of this text is customizable. You can even replace this with your own text if you have a better way that you'd like to say things. Feel free, go ahead and do that. So we can even do things like change the background, like I said earlier. So these quests posters are highly customizable. There's no reason why any two posters should look somewhat alike to one another. There's enough flexibility with fonts and font families and cropping and zooming and adjusting that no two posters should be alike with one another. So as you can see, Slooh quests are authentic, remote, observational astronomy activities using Slooh's online telescope arsenal of 10 robotically controlled live telescopes at premier observatory sites worldwide. They teach students how to explore space in a self-directed manner while completing standards-aligned learning activities that challenge them. A remarkable aspect of astronomy is that it touches on many subjects and topics. Astronomy is a gateway science that uses the phenomenon captured in telescopes to inspire and encourage students to think scientifically. Therefore, Slooh is more than just an astronomy platform. It's a STEAM platform that inspires and encourages the learning of practical skills in an exciting and engaging way that prepares students for their future careers. Before we finish up, I do want to let you know about a few star parties that are coming up. Because again, I cannot believe that it's already the top of the hour. So we have introducing the next gen Slooh tomorrow with Chief Astronomical Officer Paul Cox. He's going to go through the rundown of the new Slooh site. I am going to be coming on board to talk a little bit about quests and the custom poster feature. So stay tuned for that. Coming up next week is the blue supermoon. So we're having another full moon this month because our last full moon was on October 1st or August 1st. So, and it's still a supermoon. So we've got a blue supermoon. We're going to have a party for that. That's going to be coming up soon. Coming in October, we're going to have the Ring of Fire annular eclipse, where we're going to be covering the first of the two great North American solar eclipses that are coming up. And we're even going to cover the second big North American solar eclipse, which is coming up. Now, the first one is going to be what's called an annular eclipse. So we're going to see a ring of fire when the moon comes around it. But the one that's coming in April is going to be a total solar eclipse. So the moon is going to be big enough in the sky to cover the sun in its entirety. And those are unforgettable events. Please make sure that you come to those and keep your eyes peeled to the quest to quests, because we're aiming to have a Ring of Fire quest available for this eclipse. That's going to be fun. So I cannot believe that this is all the time that we have today. Now, while I check in with the live telescopes, I'm going to open the floor for questions and take a look if we've gotten any. Got some beautiful stars. Okay, let's have another dark galaxy here. Oh, this looks like the Lagoon Nebula. Yep, looking beautiful. New stars are being formed inside that cloud right now. And looks like this is a globular cluster. I think that's maybe the cat's eye. Not globular cluster, but a planetary nebula. Looking pretty cool, looking pretty blue. I really love it. All right, well, I'm pretty sure that we don't have any additional questions that are going to be coming through. But I would like to thank you so much for your attention, those that have stuck through in this webinar, and everybody watching from our event page. I hope you have a blast exploring space with your students. Until tomorrow, keep reaching past the stars to the galaxies beyond.